Greetings. You can hear me? Thank you, baby. You're still muted. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute.
I'm not muted.
Okay, there it goes. It looks like you're unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Let me know when you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, you said you can?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. We are logged in. Welcome, 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 Fashion. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling glorious. How are you?
I'm feeling good. It's a beautiful day, beautiful rainy day. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed, feeling first in line, feeling favored.
Ashe.
We about to hop in this convo right quick. We are discussing mental health in the Black community. And the reason why this conversation is so important, almost in every aspect that we look in, from education to different institutions such as schools. So we're talking about whether it is education on a primary level where we're just talking about adolescents going to local public schools, or we're talking about access to higher education resources throughout education and its impacts on the Black community, but also statistically when we look at crime rates, when we look at the reading and the academic scoring of Black children, when we look at the violence in our community, the exposure to certain things, we see the need for therapy. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're talking about today. Therapy in the Black community. Why is it needed? And what all are we addressing? So I
Well,
want to start off asking you, how do you see the need for therapy in the Black community? Do you even see it as a need? Is it something that we should be emphasizing? Where are we going right and wrong in the aspects of Black people in therapy?
most definitely a need. It's most definitely not. It's more than a need. um, what we don't realize in the Black community and mental health, right? Because we're exposed to so much, it becomes like normal to us. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize until I think I started therapy early 20s, early
Mm-hmm.
20s, maybe even at the end of my teens. But I started therapy a while ago. I've been in therapy over 14, 15 years, consistently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in therapy, I'm noticing that I'm telling her about things that have happened to me, but I'm talking in such a nonchalant, you know, way.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist is drawn back and completely outraged that at this age, I have watched somebody life been taken from them. The way I seen it, the way I described it, it wasn't like it affected me. It's just like this is something that I seen. So when I went to things like uh in my case, I went to the gang world where I was living at the time that was very prevalent. And in my mind, I was combating oppression, but really that was bullshit. I was adding to the problem. I was angry and I needed an outlet to be able to actively express that anger. But that's not the way I seen it then. You know what I'm saying? Being
Mm-hmm.
able to go through therapy and dissect why I went from a suburban neighborhood, drove about 15 to 20 minutes to get somewhere that is not my neighborhood, to prove to people that I ain't scared and I'm with whatever you're with.
Hmm.
What brought that about? That's what I started learning in therapy. And when I started learning what brought it about, I realized that not only did I have serious mental conditions that needed to be treated and well taken care of, but a lot of people around me did too. I have the PTSD of somebody who fought in a war. In a war, I have never seen war, but I've seen war. That's what
Hmm.
my PTSD is graded as clinically, of somebody who's fought in a war. Just by being Black and living everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Just by being Black and living everyday life, that's what type of PTSD I have. On top of social problems, because even though you say you my brother, I don't really believe you my brother, so I gotta watch my back around my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you ever be in a relaxed state when you always on guard?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be on guard because you know that if you take that guard down, you can potentially be hurt. What does that sound like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're actually bringing up so many points. I'm literally taking notes because you brought up so many good points. First one I'm going to point out is how violence become normalized. That's the first thing. Where seeing someone who seeing someone get physically attacked, seeing police brutality, hearing about these stories, hearing gunshots in the night, that becomes normalized. It becomes what you're expecting to happen. So when you discuss the feeling of being in a war zone, that's actually what happens to a lot of Black people who have lived or live in inner cities across the US. What we find is that these areas have high levels of PTSD, and where even the children are accustomed to hearing gunshots. They're accustomed to hearing gun violence. Looking at studies, and I myself have had these, and I'm sure you have too, right? That's one of the things about growing up in New Orleans, being exposed to the violence in that culture of crime in New Orleans. At some point, you experienced it. So I've been at the park, at a baseball game, at a football game with my son, and and next thing you know, we're running and covering because of gun violence. This become normalized. This becomes what we expect, to the point where some of us have gotten accustomed to losing friends because we've been losing them for so long. We think it's normal to have funerals and go to these repasses. It becomes normal to us to have those experiences. And yes, all of this, including generational trauma, contributes to people having PTSD. All of that contributes. So what do you think? I know you have experience losing someone early on. So that was the experience for you. Then you joined a gang. So that's our next experience that that we can say caused some traumatic stress. But also, I'm not sure how it looks growing up for you. I would assume there was some adolescent stressors.
Um, Most definitely growing up, I was sexually assaulted from the time I was a toddler until I was in my mid teens. So I was Um, always angry, always having the question of why is this continuously happening? And for a long time I thought it was normal until I told somebody that was close to me, and they were saying, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. So and so I have had many stressors growing up. First of all, I had a teen mother. I had a teen mother who came from a two-parent home where one parent is a devout Jehovah Witness, and you had to live a certain way or you would be shunned. And then one of her parents was a alcoholic who took care of all his business, but he still drank alcohol from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. Is from
Mm,
as long as I can remember. I don't know anything before I was born. Okay.
right.
So this is what I grew up seeing, right? I have a super religious grandmother, and this is how it has to be. And I have this mother who has taken us away from this area, right? And we're in a whole different area, whole different lane. So now she's free to be whatever she wants to be. Okay. So imagine a child being taken away from their safety net. We're in a whole nother safety net. To my mom, she's like a kid in a candy store because this place is nothing like New Orleans. This is a cakewalk. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I felt the same way. That's why I joined the gang. This is a cakewalk. I watched every time I came to New Orleans, I seen something traumatic. When I went to North Carolina, I never seen nobody put down before. I've never even seen them really actually hitting a target.
Mm,
Besides, if I may have been in a situation where things have happened, but no, it was nothing compared to New Orleans. I
mm,
came to New Orleans, was walking to my best friend and watched a car pull up and shoot him in his face 7 times. And when I came in the house to say what happened, my grandma quickly put her hand over my mouth and said, "Don't speak of it again. You didn't see nothing." But that was my friend. And he
mm,
laid there in the street for hours before police came, before anybody came to pick him up. The family put a cover over him. I remember that. So I had so much anger that when I went to North Carolina, I felt like y'all can't touch me. Y'all not for real.
mm.
So I was going to take that anger out on somebody. I couldn't take the anger out on being touched by
Yeah.
my mom's husband because she was forced to be married because my grandmother wasn't going to have it any other way. She had already had 3 children without being married, and if she didn't get married, it was going to be a problem
Mm,
financially for her.
right.
And they helped her very much financially. My mother has started every business you can think of, and they were the backers. And she didn't keep them for very long. Every car she didn't have, any house we moved into, we had a better life there. I can say that, but it wasn't a better life there
Hmm.
because we still were, singled out because we weren't from there, so we weren't from the sandbox there. But then
Mm-hmm.
when we come back here, we are welcome, and our friends are still our friends in the neighborhood. Everybody know us. We don't have no problems. But in North Carolina, we got to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cultural differences. You sound different. you move different. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mama was always getting into it. I wasn't even confrontational. I had to turn confrontation.
Hmm.
I never wanted to be confrontational.
So, okay, great point, right? Because I feel like that was me growing up. I feel like I naturally had a just a high level of sensitivity. I naturally was sweet and caring. However, I definitely early on felt the need and the need to be more aggressive. And people would tell me, essentially, right? They would tell me, hey, you need to don't be so nice, things of that nature. And honestly, I also feel like in that culture, the nice people can get picked on. So what was your reasoning for feeling like you needed to be mean or you needed to be more aggressive?
Because I was being a little bit too nice, and they were bothering me, and it was getting to me to the point where I started to develop social anxiety and agoraphobia, right? I didn't
Mhm.
want to be around people. I felt like something was going to happen. It was always threats of being jumped. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I was trying to keep it away from my mama because my mom was a live wire. And she's not the type of person that's going to be backing down from nobody saying nothing about they going to do something to me. If you're going to do something, we going to do it today. So one time I came home and I just, I was real upset. And that's when, I used to get in trouble, if she felt like I got tears coming down my eyes. And
Mm,
it wasn't that I was crying, it was that I was so mad about, what had occurred at school, how, it was grown girls there, what I'm saying, with their sisters saying they wanted to do something to me, not because of something that I did, because mainly because of a friend that I had, but my friend wasn't there, right? So they
right.
followed me basically all the way home. So when I get in the house, I'm very, red in the face, mad, pissed. And my mama just so happened to be home. She would usually be at work. And she asking me what's going on. And I tell her, and she flies off the handle. And I'm thinking, oh shit, it's about to get worse.
Uh,
Like, I mean, it's about to get worse. Like, I'm trying to explain to her, like, this has been going on. Like, I've been ducking it. It ain't even that serious. And she like, you trying to tell me that month that there's people telling they gonna do something to you. You ducking it. No, no, we ain't ducking nothing. So we go straight to the people house. I'm thinking, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, here we go again with
right.
her, what I'm saying, her way, it gotta be her way. She not even trying to hear what I'm talking about. She get there, she tell the lady, it was somebody's grandmother. She told her she didn't care if she was a grandmother. She didn't care if she was Jesus Christ. Her daughter was gonna come outside and stand on what she said today.
Mm.
Um, so that's the first time my mom made me fight. Um, and she looked me dead in my face and she was very serious and she said, You either beat her ass or I'ma beat your ass, and who you think gonna win?"
Why so many of
So
us have story? Oh,
so
gee.
it's like I knew that I didn't want to go toe to toe with her. I'm not playing with her. So you ain't shit to compare to what I got to deal with
Right.
at home. So let's get it. So that's the first time that I really had to fight. And
Mm.
my mother was the antagonizer on that fight. The girl didn't even really want to fight. At that point, she had to because her mom pulled up. Her mama didn't want no smoke because my mama was a different type of mama. She was from New Orleans. She won't playing like North Carolina people were playing.
Right, right.
And and she was like on some like, you better go ahead and handle this with her daughter because I don't want to have to handle this with this lady. I don't want no problems here. That's what the mama was on.
Mm.
So that's how that happened. And after that, I just turned cold. Like,
Hmm.
yo, I'm not telling her about nothing else because we ain't gonna have these issues no more. So I popped
Mm.
off first, always. Once they started talking, I'm not a great arguer. You know what I'm saying? I can think of it afterwards. I'll think about some good shit afterwards. But
Mm.
in the heat of the moment, that's not me. And like, why are you bothering me? You know I ain't messing with you. But since you want to pick today, we gon' play.
So I
And
have
after
a
that, I started being called crazy and things like that need to be evaluated.
hmm.
And certain things came out.
So I have a question for you. When it pertains to sexual assault, what advice would you give someone going through that experience? For and I want to be clear on this too. When I experienced sexual assault, I was a child, um, and I went to live with a cousin, and it was her husband who actually did this. So that was my experience. It happened when I was an adolescent, and when I'm hearing your story, it happened when you was a adolescent as well. It happened when you was a child. So what advice would you give to girls who are underage? These are girls, and they're having this experience and they haven't told yet.
Use your throat chakra. Do not let anybody make you fearful of telling your truth. That's the only thing I regret, not using my throat chakra. Because if I would have kept saying it, if I would have told my grandmother at those times, those things probably wouldn't have kept happening. I was so fearful of losing my grandfather to prison. I was so fearful of my mother going to prison. Um, just losing my people. My uncle already was in prison damn near my whole life. We never even seen him. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that my grandpa wasn't gonna go for that.
Hmm.
One person that I knew and he drunk too. No, 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 no. I would have lost my grandpa for life if I
Mm,
would have told him that the man that he looked at like it was his son
mm-hmm.
was
Oh.
violating me. He would have killed him. He would have killed him. I say your name because I will never be scared to say your name. Emil be enemy. You pedophile. I want the world to know your
Mm,
daughters are not safe around him.
mm,
It don't matter how he portray himself. He is a snake, and he will slither in that room. He's going to get his way in that room. And not only is he going to play with your mind, he going to
mm,
play with your spirit. He's a different kind. But
mm. Okay. You brought up a very important piece. Same here, right? I did not use my throat chakra early at all, right? I would say this. What we do know is that those children are preyed upon. They really are. And on both sides they're preyed upon. People, predators, they pick their victims out. And I definitely feel like that was one of the strategies used for me. The just knowing that there would be some hesitation in telling. And so as a predator, they literally look for children like that. I would tell parents, what would you tell parents first? Tell me, what would you tell parents? And what would you tell parents just in general when we're trying to make parents more aware that there are predators around and that these predators do and they can show up as nice guys and nice women and be the complete opposite? What advice could we give to parents?
pay attention to your children. Their actions speak louder than words. Pay attention to your children. If you are really paying attention to your children, there's no way you cannot see. There's no way you cannot see. I don't care what nobody say. If you are paying attention to your child, you will see the change. You will see it. And I feel like that's a big problem in the Black community. We're going so fast. The parents are going so fast, being that most of them had us young. Um, and they don't have really time to pay attention to what's going on with their children, because I know that was in my case. And when
Yeah.
it was brought up, ain't no way this could, how did I miss it? What do you mean? How do you miss it? You ain't even never here. You're at work. I mean, he's home, you're at work. Think about that. So it and this is not just my story. I've heard this from multiple females. That's what's so crazy. Because after a couple of years in therapy, my therapist suggested I become a peer counselor. And I would help others that's going into therapy, and we would talk, and they would have similar stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely some things happening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of that, I would say just on a general level, having more of these conversations. I think because of my own experiences, it definitely made me have this conversation with my son early on, and still I was still like, having those conversations, checking back in, So it's something that it should be a conversation that happens more than once. Sometimes we have those really important conversations just a few times versus us repeatedly going back to it and asking those questions and being reassured. Hey, how is this relationship? Is everything going? Oh, do you feel like you're being misused? Or, just asking those questions and being direct and creating boundaries early on. I feel like sometimes we have the conversations too late of boundaries in private areas and things like that. So sometimes that can be a hindrance. And also in my case, by me naturally being a person who can be very sensitive and um, can be a people pleaser, elements like that, those are qualities that I would tell parents to watch out for, because those qualities can make it easy for you to be gatewayed into abuse or abusive situations or situations where you're being taken advantage of in all different elements, right? So the people pleaser in me, the nice, wanting to just always walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around people's um, thoughts and so concerned with other people's emotions, that element, I'm looking to protect the predator. you know, I don't want for them to get in trouble, and I don't want for my family to be upset. And this person is also married to my cousin. I don't want for my cousin to be mad at me. So it's very easy for people who are being abused to get into victim blaming. It's so easy for them to do that, and when you're younger, it's very easy for you to do it. So I would say that's also an element, and just having those conversations being repeatedly had. And also, I think another problem was for me, I never had any birds and bee or sexual conversations with my parents. So it made the topic uncomfortable. It made it extremely uncomfortable. Even to this day, certain elements, um, I can tell I'm hindered by because of those experiences. So never seeing my mom kiss and hug, never seeing her um, expose PDA, never seeing those elements, it hinders how I show up in those ways. But I also can still see how just those topics make me uncomfortable. So any topic about private areas or sex, any intimacy, those conversations definitely made me like, oh, nervous, right? And it's because they never were had. We never ever had them. Nobody says that word. Nobody, you don't talk about penis. You don't talk about vaginas. You don't talk about sex. You don't bring up none of it. So coming from an environment where it was like almost like those are bad words, then it also another hindrance for me sharing what had happened to me. So those things are important. Having those conversation more, not letting those words be such foreign or rare concepts. Be vocal, very vocal with your kids. I would say that um would be definitely something. It's something I exposed my kid to very early, and you can tell I was exposed to him very. He's definitely wants to point out wrongdoing, like, "Oh, I don't think that's right," or if it's questionable behavior, he doesn't mind questioning it out loud, right? So I made sure that he, going back to what you say, use your throat chakra, right? Use it, speak on it, talk about it. What is going on? What are you feeling? Who makes you feel uncomfortable? Having those conversations are extremely important.
I agree. I never did bear my own children, but I had extreme presence in my godchildren's life, and
Mm-hmm.
I always let them know from young, because I was very paranoid about that. It wasn't going to happen on my watch. It wasn't going to happen when they're with me. Like, let me know what's going on. If you feel uncomfortable, I need to know, and I had a boy and a girl. The boy was with me the most, but I always told him, like, if somebody was touching you, I don't care who they is, you tell God, mommy. It's okay. He knew. He knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's extremely important. And it don't go talk. I'm really happy. You know, we always can talk about the cons of social media, but definitely one of the pros of social media is now that these conversations are being put on a pedestal now. We're now talking about them more. It is like open discussions. Let's do it. We know, and I know you can relate, not being allowed to have certain conversations growing up, not being allowed to say certain things. Children were not allowed to ask questions. We had to stay in a child's place, okay?
Mm.
And so a part of staying in that child's place, in my opinion, is segued into, and it allowed for these acts to lay under, like, buried under the house. So yes, sexual assault is happening in his house, abuse is happening in a house, there's drug abuse, there's alcoholism, but we're not allowed to talk about it, and you're definitely not allowed to talk about it because you have to stay in a child's place.
And what goes on in the house must stay in the house.
You got that right. And if it don't, oh, you tell your mama business, you tell that house business, baby, baby. Mm-mm. So how have you built resilience? When I'm looking into looking into your past, right? And being able to see all the hurdles, all the challenges you've endured, from childhood traumas, um is sexual assaults, even past that, gang affiliation. How have you built resilience?
Honestly, like, going through it, and never breaking. I've
Mm,
been through a lot of situations, and most of my life I've always had a safety net. I've had somewhere where I can run and feel like I'm safe and protected, and um everything was going to be okay. For a long time in my life I had that.
mm-hmm.
So I just lost it not too long ago. It's been a battle, and I'm still working it out mentally. You know what I'm saying? Because that has been a big part of my resilience, that whatever knocked me down, I could always run to my mama and papa. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? No matter how much trouble I got in, my grandma might fuss about it, but mama's gonna make sure that everything is gonna be okay. Like, it built something in me where I kind of felt like I was unstoppable.
Mm.
It became a complex, like, until I realized that, I don't want to see no more courts. And most of the stuff I'm doing, I'm not really doing for me. It's not like for me. It's for somebody else who don't really even care about me. It took
Mm.
me a long time to get that. Like, yo, you trying to please people who would never try to please you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we had to get to the root of that. Why did I want to be accepted so bad?
Mm.
So mental health is a lot.
Yeah, it
In
is.
our community, I don't think we put enough emphasis in it.
I
We
say.
don't we act like the people that are suffering from certain disorders or just okay, and they'll be all right type.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not understanding that, like, it really is a battle to keep moving when you have these issues that is real hurdles
Yep.
to get over. So you already got hurdles. First of all, you're Black.
Yeah.
First of all, you're female. And then on top of that, you're queer. Now you have to add mental health on top of that, honey.
Yeah.
That's a lot to
It is.
deal with.
It is. And that's
But
a great point. Say that again.
it's a battle I can't wait to win.
It's a battle that you're winning. Cause even actively participating in the journey is winning. Working through everyday stressors. When we think about work, family life, community stressors, right? And then nevertheless unfolding and unpacking all of the baggage, unpacking it. And for many of us, we never, if a lot of us have never even unpacked it, and we know that because we can see it. However, for the ones who have started unpacking, many of them didn't start unpacking until they went to therapy. They didn't even know that they had stuff to unpack. They didn't realize all the trauma, sadness, pains, and sorrows that they was carrying around with them. Living in PTSD and don't know, living in depression and don't know, living in anxiety and don't know, living in having
Yes.
no clue.
When I used to get panic attacks before I got to therapy and got diagnosed, I really literally thought that I had something wrong with me, and I was scared to say because I thought that something was seriously wrong with me. Like, I thought that I was having many heart attacks.
Mm,
Um,
come
like it,
on, talk about it.
like I thought I was having many heart attacks, and I was afraid to
Yes,
say something because I didn't want the doctor to say that
come
something
on.
was wrong with my
That's what
heart.
trapped trauma in the body does. That's what trapped trauma in the body does. It creates heart attacks. It creates high blood pressure. It creates other disabilities, especially when we don't deal with it. And every year goes by and we still have not addressed the trauma.
Yeah. It feels good. I remember a time I would have a panic attack all day. I mean, it wasn't a day that goes by, wouldn't it? And I can't remember the last time I had a panic attack.
Wow. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you because it takes a very courageous warrior to say that I'm gonna go into these dark figures in order to get to the light. I already know what happens. You know, when you go to therapy, there's some spaces that you go and you don't want even want to be there. You don't want to find out why. You're like, I don't want to.
Oh, I was the exact opposite. I wanted to know every reason
Ooh.
why. I wanted to know why
Oh, that's beautiful.
I wanted to understand. I did the
That was
research. I started doing research and going back to her diagnosing my damn self, and she was like, "No, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I know that might seem resonate with you, but that's not what you have there." And I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Oh no, I was not like that. When I first went to therapy, I was not. I definitely came there on some. This is what I'm sharing, and these things never happened. Like,
Oh no, no, no.
which is me though. I'm so like, it's like no, I'm not. You're not getting all the chapters to the book.
Oh
No,
yes, yes.
I'm like,
And
what?
she cracked the code. She cracked the code. I was ready to give it all. And then I made her really like go back over that paper with me. Anything that I say to you cannot be used against me in court. None of that. And it was on. I'm talking about I laid it all out because I wanted to know why this is happening. Why do I feel this way?
Mm,
Like, why? This doesn't make any sense. Like, you don't get it, Judy. Well, I didn't mean to say that name, but to my therapist, you don't get it. I get whatever I want. It's not about things or anything. Like, I feel like there is not a place for me.
mm,
Like, I feel unwanted by the very vessel that brought me into this world. So that makes me feel a way.
mhm,
Like, and it weighed down on me so heavy. So we had
mhm,
to break through. Like, it's like I remember it took taking years for me to be able to do certain things because I was told after I was diagnosed. At first, it was very much reluctant about me going to therapy. Even my grandmother had a problem with it, but when the papers came back that this is what she has, then it became a crutch. Like, oh,
mm,
it's because the people say that you got this, so you don't need to be driving no car with no social anxiety. You might have a panic attack driving. You might hurt yourself. So you
mhm.
never gonna be able to get a license. I believe that
Oh,
I was out here driving cars without license.
mm.
Like, I don't know what the fuck they talking about. I'm driving
Just
this
because
car.
of the misconceptions. Yeah, yeah,
And it took me 13 times to get my license, but I got my license.
I shade. So before we go, one more component of resilience, a theme in resilience on the journey. What advice would you give someone who have just thought about going to therapy? They haven't signed up, they haven't picked out a therapist. There's only just been a thought. What advice would you give to them?
If you want to stay in the dark, then don't get help. But if
Mm,
you walk through the dark, eventually get to the light.
mm,
And
eventually
this
you
is
get
from
a light.
somebody who's been walking and been walking and been walking path. And it's getting so brighter. It's getting so much. I mean, you don't understand how bright it's getting.
It's getting
It
so
used to be so dark.
mm,
I see
I,
so many things now. So many things are possible. I'm working towards things that they said I would never be able to do. I will do those things.
come on.
I
Hmm.
mean, it's it helps you to build resilience within yourself. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want that, if that's what you're looking for, the
Hmm.
tools to be able to make it on your own. Because you don't have to be in therapy as long as I have been. I choose to stay in therapy. I
Mm,
like to keep my tools sharpened.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the tools you need, I would suggest you go start there, because that's where you will get the tools you need and understand that you are not the only one that feels this way, and there is a reason why you feel this way, and this is what you need to do to help yourself to feeling better.
Ooh, yes. Let's get into it. Wow, thank you so much, Fashion. And you enjoy your beautiful day. Thank you for joining us on Rebirth the Body. And
Thank
welcome
you
to
for having me. You have a great day.
you welcome. Welcome to the best days of your life.
Thank you.